Hello and welcome to Warp Factor Unknown, a Star Trek rewatch podcast where we select a random episode of Star Trek from all the various Star Trek shows. My name's Dan. I'm joined today by my co-host Tom and a special guest, Madelen.
Hi, happy to be here.
I'm also happy to be here.
Fantastic. Today we are going into probably one of our all-time favourite shows of the Next Generations, Season 1, Episode 7, Lonely Among Us. Before we really kick off and start talking about the episode, we just want to have a little chat with our guest Madelen. Just sort of a little bit about how she got into Star Trek, why she loves it, just sort of anything she wants to talk about Star Trek, really.
Oh, well, I'm happy to talk about Star Trek. Thanks, guys, for having me on. I actually came into Star Trek pretty late in life. I have seemed to explore every other science fiction in the 90s and early 2000s, but I always kept Star Trek at arm's length because I kind of thought that's one step too far. You kind of see pictures, shows of conventions or people wearing t-shirts or people having clubs and speaking Klingon. You go, that's cool, that's too much. So I kind of avoided it. And then finally, I'd exhausted all other options. I've read all the books. I played all the games, done everything, and all of my friends were watching Star Trek and they were perfectly normal. So I thought, maybe I could dabble. Unfortunately, or maybe fortunately, depend on who's listening, my first foray into Star Trek was actually Star Trek Nemesis.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Which, I don't want to be rude, but it's maybe not the finest piece of Star Trek.
It's not what I would use to introduce somebody to Star Trek.
No.
Yeah, and so then, so I did that and it definitely took a few years off. And then finally I jumped into TNG, which I'm so pleased that today's episode is season 1 of TNG because that was my first real go of Star Trek. You know, it did start a love affair, but season 1's a slog. I love it, full of comedy, but it wasn't. Yeah, it did not come naturally to me.
It's very much finding its feet, season 1.
Yes.
It's got some moments I quite enjoy it, and it's got some cool ideas, but there's a few stinker episodes in there.
Like when Riker's looking at Imzadi across the elevator.
Oh,
Yeah.
man, the first episode. Yeah, so that's where it started. I watched that, I got through it, and then it just took over my life. I've probably watched every Star Trek apart from the animated series. I'm a bit behind with the newer series, but I love it to bits. I happily wear the t-shirts now. I would happily go to the conventions. I see what all the fuss is about.
Happily wear the red shirt now.
Maybe not. Well, depends on series.
Huh?
That's actually a good question for everyone. What is your chosen Star Trek professional choice? What colour shirt would you wear?
Well, I'll go first because my dear friends know my personality very well, but I am command. I'm bossy. Yeah, that would be me.
I can vouch for this. Yeah. I think you'd be good.
Thank
commander,
you.
yes.
Appreciate that.
What would I be? You know the ones that go on the away missions?
The red
Yes.
coats.
Probably the red coats.
So
but
you're
I
like
wouldn't-
security?
I'd actually say, do you mind if I have a different colour to red? Would that be alright? And then I'd go on the away mission, know that the people in the red would get picked
Could
up
you
first.
possibly just be the pilot of the shuttlecraft? So you don't actually leave the shuttlecraft. You're not really required to do the mission. You just kind of wait and
I'd
eat
like to
snacks.
leave. It would
Yeah.
fulfill my exploratorial
Okay.
interests.
No, that's fine. So maybe bluish? Bluish
Blue.
yellow?
I like blue as well. Yes, blue. I'm going to say blue.
Blush?
Blush. Nice blush colour.
And you, Dan?
I think I would go with the blue science medical, but I definitely don't have the brain smarts to be science medical. But
I can vouch for this.
But
yeah, thank you.
But you're looking at like today's, like where you are today.
Oh, so 24th century, Dan.
Yeah, I mean, we would probably put in some Star Trek school when we were like 18 months old.
Maybe, yes. Maybe I could actually be like
a brainiac.
Yeah.
Or
I might even get
eugenics.
past ensign. Oh, yeah.
Eugenics are always an option.
Yeah, definitely are. Fantastic. That's great. Okay, so season 1, guys, is pretty rough. I think this one particularly was a bit more on the rougher side. It didn't come across as cringy at any points, I don't think.
I did cringe a couple of times.
Did you? What points did you cringe?
In the last 10 minutes, I think I cringed a couple of times. I think, when Data was being Sherlock Holmes,
It was
but
a little
kind
over the
of
top
overplayed it.
in some points.
And then when there was a comment that was made and Riker just gave this like, "Ha, that's so funny." expression. I was like, no, it wasn't.
Mm.
It was just season 1 humour.
Season 1 Riker, no beard.
Oh,
I can't do it. I can't do it.
naked.
It doesn't work.
No, it's just...
He doesn't look like a complete man.
He doesn't. He's missing something.
But that's okay, because it's season 1, and he is, in a way. He's new. He's a new commander, and I think by the time you get to season 2, the beard actually fits his personality. It fits his growth that he's had.
Very good point.
So I don't actually... I used to struggle actually a lot with Riker without a beard, until I actually gave him some grace and went, no, actually, legit, he is trying to figure it out. And I think this episode is actually a really good example of him trying to figure out how to be a commander. I feel like it's his first challenge of him against Picard, perhaps.
Yeah. And I guess he hadn't earned the beard by this point. It takes a while and, a bit more authoritativeness to actually...
Is that how you grow facial hair? I'm not really sure. Is that how it works?
If you sort of assert yourself a few times, you then get a beard.
Oh.
That's why I cannot grow a beard.
No,
that's a very good point, actually, because you're right, like, he does try to confront Picard, but he basically fails. He doesn't, he's not actually very successful. So this is probably, I can imagine him going away in his next counselling session with Troy. He's talking about it, he's working through it, and he becomes better.
Well, he was mute. I mean, it was actually quite interesting because the bridge crew were looking to him to sort this problem out and potentially relieve Picard of duty, and he's not
funked.
There. No. He just actually went mute, which is exactly how I thought I'd go with this podcast.
In fact, it's the opposite.
Yeah, thank you, Tom. But yeah, I found it really interesting because he just absolutely flunked it. Yeah, I think reflections are needed on his end.
Yeah, I completely agree. Can we talk a little bit about, in the beginning, when those 2 delegate species are coming on board, and then Picard and Riker are on the bridge, and they're talking about them, and Riker's like, I don't know much about this conflict or this peace delegation or whatever. And then Picard sort of says, yes, it's very much like Earth history. They have differing customs and God concepts and even economic systems.
Quaint.
And it's all very like, wink, wink. Come on, 1980s Earth. Be better. It was a little much tap on the shoulder kind of thing. It's like, come on, audience, this is
sort
you.
Of saviour,
it was a little bit Gene Roddenberry, I guess. Kind of him shaking you through the screen.
Speaking of the delegates, this is a surprise, but the prosthetics were actually not bad.
I completely agree.
The snake people were fantastic. Like, it got to the point where you couldn't really even see the actors' eyes. You know how you always see, like, their eyelids? That was really fun. So the snakes were good, and then the enemies were the classic big-brained...
So like a dog.
But then hairy, like, papillon dog.
Yeah.
They weren't as great. The mouths couldn't move at all, and you could see the eyelids of the actors. But overall, I usually have low expectations with costumes in Star Trek, but this was actually really good.
Because, yes, normally Star Trek with aliens, you just sort of get, like, a ridged nose or something on the forehead, but these ones were all out. And was it season 1 or season 2? There was that other alien race that were also really well done. There was like a fish.
Oh, the fish people.
And Worf's they're such a handsome race.
Oh, and they were amazing.
So they had to build a whole habitat for them in their room.
Oh, wait, maybe we're thinking different fish people.
No, they had
there's more than one fish people.
They had like a fish buffet. It was disgusting.
But were they fish themselves?
They were fish.
Is that the one where...
Fish.
Yes, I know different fish. Troy's mother, Loxana. Didn't she figure out that they were traitors and they blew themselves up?
That's the one. They're really big
different fish people.
Yes.
Sorry.
Yeah.
But what I'm trying to get at is that maybe I'm misremembering, but the early seasons TNG had better, more bolder.
Maybe
aliens,
less humanoid?
Yeah, more alien.
Yeah.
But maybe they thought on the production, they were like, no, they're a little too cheesy.
Or they spent on their money.
I thought there was good makeup, like you say, but the eyes is what gave it away to me. Is they're like, could they have done something with the eyes and made it, I don't know, just like ping pong balls or something, just to make it a little bit more different to human eyes?
Obviously, the newer seasons, it's like Discovery, Strange New Worlds, they do a fantastic job. But we're talking decades. So I think, for where it was pretty good.
Late 80s, yeah, really good. I think so. A bit more about those two species in the show. Their B plot. I don't get it. They're trying to be Federation members through this peace conference. They start a peace conference. They, become peaceful, end the war, so they can both apply for Federation membership. They're not Federation.
They're not ready.
No.
They're not.
I mean, it gets fleshed out with so many seasons and so many shows. Kind of the whole pathway to becoming a Federation member is totally fleshed out. I get that we don't have that at this stage, but I hate that the kind of only rule that we're going by is warp travel.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's not... And I know it's fleshed out, but at this stage, it's not good enough.
It's not. I agree.
I'm not trying to be elitist, but not everyone can join this very exclusive club.
That's kind of my point, is like the Federation shouldn't even be considering these races. They're not ready.
Yeah.
They should have assessed them from afar and been like, no.
I mean, they
We're
legit
gonna leave.
murdered one of each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And then
Because that was
there's
kind
been
of
a murder, and Riker's like, can we deal with this later, please?
Yeah, that was like a joke at the end of the show. I'm like, oh no, it's going to be a murder.
Yeah.
It wasn't even a murder. It was like a murder, and then they're going to eat him.
Yeah.
Speaking about the B plot, before we move on, because there's really not much to talk about, but I did kind of like the chat about vegetarianism, not keeping animals for the purposes of culling and eating them as meat, still being able to enjoy the taste and the sensation and texture of meat through what I would assume Riker was talking about, lab-grown meat. That was really interesting, but then we also tie it in to what you were saying before, Dan, about, oh, look at these lower beings, because it was very much like disdain for these people. I mean, I am a vegetarian myself, but I wouldn't get very far in life if I spoke to people with such disdain who ate meat like that. But it was very overt, and it was very non-Star Trek.
Yeah, I
very
can imagine
judgmental.
you go around and you find out someone's eating meat, you're like, barbaric!
Yeah, that's not how to win friends and influence people.
There's kind of like stereotypical annoying vegans that you sort of see online.
Yeah. So, but I it was kind of fun because we're still having this conversation today about lab-grown meat, and it's 2023 now, and there's new products being released, and we might be having a conversation in 10 years we're all eating lab-grown burgers, and not a single animal has been culled. But yeah, that was a really cool tie-in to conversations that are happening today.
It was a great conversation for the late 80s.
And it slipped in. I'm like, cool. I like that.
Yeah, I also have one last little thing to talk about the B plot before we go on. It's not as serious or in depth as the vegetarianism. One scene when it's Riker and Tashi are in with the dog, the Amscan, and they're confiscating their little weapons, those little knives, they're like little lightsabers, like little,
I noticed that.
Little.
Yeah.
I did quite like that. I did quite enjoy the little props that the aliens had, and the other ones had those hoops, like a duck kind of thing.
The glow and the dark.
Yeah.
And they hooked Riker.
Because it was just like what are those breaky lights hit?
Yeah, glow sticks.
Glow sticks, yeah, had a glow stick on a hoop. Great.
That was
Loved
great.
it. They were great.
Because they could have broken a glow stick over Riker's head, but luckily he got hooped with the loopy thing, so they could have
Lucky to be
really
alive,
attacked him.
Really.
Yeah. And how do you not notice that it's Riker and not the creature that they were trying to catch? Because he's a bit taller.
Maybe the reptile species see things differently. Maybe they don't see the visible spectrum like we do. Maybe they don't see shapes or heat or something.
Could be. When he started going, what the devil? They were like, this is not the person we're trying to catch.
This is not the weird big-brained papillon dog creature.
Yeah.
I want to talk about the A plot, but I want to talk about, first of all, in the beginning, Worf in the sensor relay room. There you go, he knows. When he first gets taken over, he touches the panel, and he goes,
yeah, he
like
does.
that.
It's full on, and his lips. I was looking out for the lip. It is a proper, I guess, pout.
Yeah, he's like really.
Yeah,
Michael Dorn's really going for that.
Yeah,
but it's kind of like, you know how when you get a bit of static shock or an electric shock, you go and you flinch away.
I react the same. Sort
of. No, that's it. I think Worf is like, I can take the pain. Give it to me.
Yeah,
he really just wants it. He keeps going. He fights through the pain.
Yes.
And that's why he passed out. If he just flinched away, he'd have been fine.
Because no one else has a reaction when they get.
No, they're all fine.
Yeah.
What about Chief Engineer Singh?
Oh, Singh does die.
Yeah.
We must talk about Singh. Yes. Yeah.
Anyway, I'm kind of going all over the place. I did also want to mention with the A plot in the very beginning, the dress uniforms, but literal dress uniforms.
Yes.
Season 1 dresses.
Really
Yeah.
cool. I've seen the regular dresses that people wear, but this was a dress uniform with a gold trim.
Yes.
And I did
Very
appreciate it. They quickly changed.
You called them something, didn't you? Like stresses or?
I couldn't remember. I know online they have not squirts
Ducks,
or squirts or
squirts. Yes, it could be squirts. It's a 24th century.
I don't know, but I appreciated the gold trim.
Yes,
I thought it was a nice effect.
Because also in season 1, there wasn't in this episode, but you see like the extras wearing like the male extras wearing those skirt uniforms.
Yeah,
and I've always they do look a little silly in TNG, but I kind of wish that one of the other shows, one of the newer shows, Engineering World or Discovery, whatever.
I swear Discovery
maybe
in the
would
background.
bring them back and they look cool. Maybe they have, and I just missed it. I'll have to go look.
Number 1, when she appeared in Discovery, Strange New
did she
Worlds,
wear
I believe
skirt?
she wears like black leggings underneath. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, Una.
Well,
yeah.
Okay. Cool. Great.
Anyway, sorry. Yeah, so dress uniforms were great.
Tom, you mentioned Mr. Singh.
Yes.
I quite liked him.
You mean chief assistant?
Oh, sorry, chief assistant. He wasn't chief engineer. He was chief
No.
assistant engineer.
Look, I struggle with season 1 and people's positions because I feel like
They all move around.
Yeah, so I thought it was chief engineer, but you're right.
Maybe he's like chief of the day shift.
Anyway,
I looked at him. I was like, where is
Engineer Singh.
Where's Miles? But obviously Miles is.
He's transport chief.
yeah.
Of course he is. He doesn't become chief engineer
Until
until DS9.
No, we have Geordie for most of TNG.
right.
But in season 1,
Geordie
Geordie's
was in
like
a
pilot.
Geordie was in a super weird... Look, this is a whole conversation for season 1, is everyone's roles are completely fluid. And we all know about Worf being completely lost until he takes over security in season 2, but everyone seems blurred. Troy doesn't know what she's doing and is placed in really weird positions. You've got people on the bridge who shouldn't be on the bridge. You've got people in engineering who shouldn't be in engineering.
Riker's like, what am I? Because I can't.
Riker doesn't have a
Go to the
beard.
captain and confront him. He's like,
Yeah, it's
doubt
odd.
my face.
Wesley acting ensign, but's not wearing a uniform.
Yeah.
Has to go to school, but's on the bridge. Engineer Singh was a great short appearance.
I would like to have seen more of him, so I think, hey, I thought he was alright. He was kind of good. He was a good engineer.
Yeah, because when I saw the episode, I was like, has he been in previous episodes, or was he a guest star in this episode?
I remember, but
I couldn't remember in any of the other ones.
I mean, we'd always look, but we're not going to. We're just going to go off on memory.
Yes, yeah.
But,
Let's say not.
with Mr. Singh, when the Enterprise has lost warp power, and Wesley's in engineering, and Wesley solves it, he's like, Mr. Singh, what about this? Immediately, Mr. Singh sits down and says, oh, yes, thank you, amazing, great, and sends Wesley to school.
Yes.
The second Wesley leaves that room, he's like, Mr. Singh does the nipple tap. And he's like, sir, Mr. Singh here, I found the problem. Yes, all by myself. I fixed it. All on my own. He definitely just took credit for Wesley's work.
You couldn't have said, like, this acting ensign
this child
has just come up with this amazing idea that I didn't even think about. It was actually Wesley. I mean, obviously,
because he might get demoted. Yeah. Maybe he's already like on the fence about. They're not sure about whether he should keep his rank as chief assistant.
Because he's
engineer.
like, look, I'm acting assistant engineer Singh. Yeah. I'm going to be here for a long time, potentially 7 series. I've got to keep my job.
Exactly. Yeah. Don't want to give it up to his kid.
Yeah.
I think. Yeah. I mean, I don't want to speak. I think we can all identify with working with someone who takes credit for other people's work.
Oh man.
Oh yeah.
It happens in the.
And this
24th century as well.
This is a lesson that Wesley has now learnt. And he's like, oh, God, not everyone's friendly and nice and can be trusted.
This will be a multi-season lesson for Wesley. I am a Wesley fan. Not an instant one, but I've grown to love him and forgive him for a lot of the problems. Wesley. But I struggle. I struggle with the crew not listening to him, and it is a constant. I mean, it never really
and
goes
also
away.
his mum not listening to him.
Bev, what's that about?
You were saying something. Were you Wesley about? I don't remember you saying anything about that at all. But yeah,
he's a very invisible character.
He is.
He doesn't want to be. He wants to be. Literally wants to be seen. It's the oldest story in the book. Lost a parent, just wants to help, just wants to be seen, and just people just ignore him, take credit for his work, shut him up. It's really sad. But I know he's not everyone's favorite. But if he was a real young adult in a role like that, he should be treated way better. Can I talk about something that I did not remember from this episode? And it was unexpected, but it was very welcome. Potentially the origin story of the Private Eye investigator theme that infects Star Trek forever.
Wait, is it the beginning? Because isn't it very early on in TNG did we get Dixon Hill?
Well, I'm wondering, is Dixon Hill before this?
I think there's the episode where Picard takes Crusher onto the holodeck and they do a Dixon Hill novel. And the Dixon Hill henchmen, the bad guys, they kind of walk off the holodeck and they're kind of fading away.
Because this is only the seventh episode.
Sixth.
Well, even sixth.
If you sort of count at 5.1 and 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, you were definitely right. It's definitely the origin of the Holmes thing.
Yeah.
But I'm wondering if, I don't know, have we got
I'm trying to
Google. Have we got an IMDb?
12th episode.
So this was the genesis of Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah, because Picard's eyes do light up when he sort of starts talking about private eyes. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, look, according to this, I think it's the 12th episode. Yeah, no, it was just great to see. I mean, I love all of the holodeck episodes, Dixon Hill and Sherlock Holmes, and also the homages that they do later on in the different series. So it was great. I was unexpected. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is where it happened. And it was Picard that kind of ignited that flame in Data, and maybe even himself, if just a few episodes later he then does a Dixon Hill holodeck.
Maybe like from this and seeing Data really act out that Sherlock Holmes thing, he was like, oh yes, I remember at the Academy I used to really like Dixon Hill.
Yeah.
And he goes back and he's like, oh my god, amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, it was great. It was fantastic. And then as we talked about, the comedy maybe didn't hit right with Data pretending to be Sherlock, indubitably said 15 times.
It was a little heavy at some points.
But it's kind of adorable when you know the future of his character and his love affair with Sherlock Holmes and Watson. And
I did like the little magnifying glass in the fish tank.
That was good.
Yeah, the pipe. That's all the comedic things.
With the comedics on the pipe, it had smoke on it. And at one point, Tashiar waves her hand in front of her nose.
Yeah, how did he get an actual tobacco smoking
pipe? I was like, was it tobacco? Was it a fake smoke? Was it a vape? Was it just like a little fog machine in there?
Yeah.
What?
Surely that would not, Star Trek.
Yeah, surely that wouldn't fly. I mean, I know he's an android, he wouldn't get any second-hand smoke.
Passive.
Yeah, unless it was like he asked a replicator for it.
Yeah, I think this is the kind of question that a fan like ourselves would ask at a convention to the panel, to Brent Spiner, and then the actors would die inside and then valiantly try and answer.
Yeah, because how are they supposed to remember every single episode that they ever acted for decades ago? Yeah, that is the kind of question that one of us...
That's why
I think they'd love it. They'd be like, oh...
I'm so glad I'm getting paid for this.
That's why we won't go to convention and ask that, and we'll just talk about it here on this little podcast.
Yes. Yeah. Should we go... But we did touch on it. Maybe the most important part of this episode, I think, that is long-standing for us as viewers, and in terms of the lore of the show, is actually what goes into the chain of command and what happens when that breaks. It wasn't done. We've talked about this before. Riker and Crusher didn't do it effectively. Riker just flunked. But I liked that they did, the bridge crew, even though it's very blurry in season 1, did actually make an effort to have a conversation about what happens when you have to relieve the captain.
I love that scene when they're all talking in their quarters about it. It reminded me. I don't know if any of you have seen the Hornblower series.
Yes.
But there's an episode there where they have to potentially relieve the captain, and they're in the bottom of the ship talking about mutiny and all the consequences. And it felt very reminiscent of that. I think this came first as a TV show. But yeah, I like that kind of stuff.
What I liked about it was done in a respectful manner. There wasn't the passion or emotional turmoil of a mutiny that you think about in a ship or something.
Yeah, they weren't going to go to the armory and start.
No, it was, we need to do this right. We need to do this safely. We need to make sure that no one gets hurt, career-wise or even physically in the process. Do we have the authority to actually do what we think we need to do? And it was a really good conversation with everyone being able to speak their mind. Riker was good in that scene. He just stuffed up later. But it was interesting. It was the first time I knew, maybe naively, that the doctor, the chief doctor of the ship, if she has concerns and if she has proof, that's really important too. If she has proof, she can relieve the captain. But then, Beverly was like, I'm not sure if I've got that. And so then Riker has to step in. And it took that majority rules.
It was a good scene, and how you mentioned earlier about how we discussed that Riker wasn't necessarily ready to take on, but make that decision, and he wasn't sort of grown into that character yet. And in that scene, you can kind of tell that he's quite awkward. He feels very uncomfortable being told that he's got to make that decision. That
he wasn't ready.
And really, he probably should have raised his hand and said, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I can go against my captain.
Yes, and it put Beverly in a dangerous position. It did, because Picard then sort of, in a way, threatens both their careers. And she's put in a really uncomfortable position. And she backs out.
But being Doctor, she could have overruled the decision of the captain because she had concerns about his health.
Sure, but I think it was mentioned that she did need proof, which is why she needed those scans. Which... she was hoping Riker would back her up, but that didn't happen. But we all know for sure that Riker does gain that capacity, because I think I know for sure with the Locutus of Borg, he has to, take over the ship and do what he needs to do. So he obviously will grow into that capacity, but he's not there yet.
I've not seen much chair mounting yet.
It was a very standing episode.
As his confidence grows, Riker starts mounting chairs better.
Yeah.
And then
maybe, as I mentioned earlier, how he's going to talk to Troy about how he sort of felt a little bit inadequate about this whole process. Maybe one of his coping mechanisms is he has to be more assertive in his physical environment.
Maybe try mounting chairs.
Mounting chairs.
Yeah.
And that's like his coping mechanism to becoming a more assertive commander. Okay, so in our last episode, when we were talking with Discovery and Saru, remember we had a little conversation about when he got sort of compromised mentally a little bit?
Yes.
And he kept it to himself. Same thing with Crusher. She gets compromised.
Yeah.
And she wakes up on the bridge. It's like, what am I doing here?
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, I'm fine. I'll just go work in my office.
Yeah.
Why don't people tell that they've had an incident? They've had a moment.
Like, you're exploring the galaxy. You go into all these alien races.
They've gone for a space cloud.
And the other ones are going on board. And then you're like, something strange happens. You wake up thinking, how did I get here? The first thing I do is also I'm a doctor, so I'd go to sub-doctor, whoever it is, and be like, can you assess me, because I've had a memory lapse and I feel weird about it. But she didn't. She's like, no, I'm going to...
was right there, just like, they never say. And
the worst thing could have been like, Mum, you were there, and, so he could have warned her, but I think even then she'd been
because
if he'd have gone like, Captain Picard, I think something's wrong with my mum. You'd be like, shut up, Wesley. No one will listen to him.
Yeah, shut up, Wesley.
And it's not it's not his responsibility. It was... No. Yeah, I agree. It's such a common Star Trek trope, especially when they bang on about removing oneself from pride, community on a Star Trek, looking out for each other, believing each other. It's so tiring, and it never stops. And I was actually, this is not relevant, but... my favourite show, Stargate, is the exact opposite. They will always tell each other when something happens. My complaint is that they don't always believe that person. But that's Jack, Daniel, Sam, Tilk, whatever's going on, they'll just be honest, no matter how far-fetched. And General Hammond will go, that's good enough for me, let's investigate. And I just wish, if Stargate, a show with faulty Americans, who make mistakes just like us, can share, why can't, our best selves in Star Trek share our, concerns and deepest, darkest, hardest moments?
It happens every week that some alien entity or something happens.
Also, Troy must have been like, something weird's going on here. I can sense.
Yeah, she should have sensed that moment that Crusher had a moment of panic.
Yeah, this is not Crusher.
But we've talked about this again, but they're not season one not fleshed out.
Maybe not Troy was using hypnosis, and that's not She did have a cool space hypno.
She did. It's like a little
pocket
metronome
watch.
thing, wasn't
Yeah.
it? Yeah.
She's not there yet. The writers or herself, whatever, they've not fleshed out the limitations and potential of her powers. So I forgive her for that. But yeah, in a perfect world, Troy should be like, whoa, sit down. What's just happened? But it's not happening season 1. I'm just thinking, it was unusual for the entity to actually announce themselves.
Yeah.
So they didn't for the whole time until they jumped to Picard. He kept it secret for the entity took over him for some time and kept it secret. And then for the grand finale, actually admitted who they were and what they wanted. And
did a little bad guy monologue, yeah.
Yeah, and that doesn't always happen. Usually it's the crew that has to force out, against this creature's will, and then finally the creature just runs away into the circuits or runs away into the gas cloud. But this was like no, you guys suck. I'm very disappointed in you. Anyway, bye.
Back to the cloud.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. Yeah.
When Picard gets taken over, he touches the panel and he gets taken over. Patrick Stewart, when that change happens, he's acting on point.
Yeah.
What an actor. His whole demeanour changes. The way he moves around the set, the way he talks, the way his face emotes. He is he's quite clearly the best actor on set. And it just shows. Because all the other actors who get taken over, Worf, Crusher and Singh, you don't really get that big change in them.
No.
I know Picard had the entity for longer, but he's a bit more playful with his emotions, and he just sort of jumps around a little bit.
In a way, frightening. I mean, in the scene...
Oh, yes. Like creepy, kind of.
Yeah, in the scene where Riker and Crusher confront him, he's... 2 against 1, he completely takes control of that situation.
As you said, he was gaslighting.
He kind of gaslights them a little bit, threatens them. He experiments with a lot of different creepy ways to kind of back them into a corner. He physically gets really close to Crusher. It's fascinating. He became like, whoa, simple, like uncomfortable. And that was all Patrick Stewart. He wasn't being physically threatening. It was just the way that he was dancing around them and tying them into a knot before they could even disagree with him.
It takes a good actor to obviously read that script and take points from the director and to make that into that physicality onto the screen. Yeah,
lots of smirks, lots of
smirks,
eye rolls.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that part of not the story, but the show. Now we're going to hit the part of the show where we wrap up our thoughts about the episode, what we liked, didn't like, I guess. And then what we do, we say what rating we would give it on IMDb, and then we go and check IMDb to see if our rating is higher, lower, or on point.
Okay.
So, Tom, do you want to kick us off?
So I thought about the episode.
What you thought about the episode, and then your IMDb rating.
So I thought the episode was good. It is a bit of a shock to watch a season 1 quality episode after, in my memory, it's like I remember a lot of episodes from season 3 onwards, because that's what I've watched the most, and to see the acting and the characters being in such a early state of development is kind of like weird, but I got used to it the more I watched it. When I was watching Sherlock Holmes with, I think it's Basil Rathbone, anyway, the black and white version, I watched it and I was laughing my socks off for the first 2 episodes because it was so bad, the acting, and it was black and white. And then the next 6 episodes, I was like, I loved it because I got used to it. My brain had got used to this sort of quality of show, and I got really immersed. And I think if I watched enough episodes of season 1 again, probably the same thing would happen. So yeah, I thought the episode was good. I liked the characters. I like Mr. Singh. Wesley was, as Wesley is, still a little bit annoying, but not too bad. Worf was great with his scream when he got electrocuted. And also everything was a bit stilted, but I still enjoyed the whole episode. And I like the theme. The B plot was strange, and I felt weird. And I thought maybe it's these characters that have something to do with the computer going wrong, and they had something to do with this. They put the thing into this computer that had taken over everyone on the ship, but no, it was completely separate. And it just happened to be coincidental. So on the whole, I enjoyed it.
Cool. And then IMDb?
My IMDb would be a solid 6.
Solid 6.
Really?
Mm.
Oh.
I thought the episode was a little, I'm going to use the word weird. It was just, I don't think the story was as tight as it could have been, as we discussed. The B plot didn't really go anywhere, didn't really do anything, but I did like the aliens and their sort of comical rivalry. I did quite enjoy that. But yeah, I didn't really feel the story went anywhere. And I've got, as a note here, yeah, the story didn't go anywhere, and we don't learn anything about, this alien that we encounter, and we don't really get any character development. However, I want to change that note, because after this conversation we've been having today, and that talk about how Riker didn't really make the correct command decision and how he really struggled with that decision, we did get character development. I just didn't click it until we started talking about it here. So we'll change that little note. So yeah, I don't think I enjoyed it quite as much as you did, Tom. I did still enjoy it. I always enjoy going back to TNG, whatever it is. I think I'm going to give it maybe a 5.3. Yes, it's quite low, I think, for a TNG.
Yeah.
I think if you just sort of asked me down the pub, what is your sort of average rating for any old episode of TNG, I'd probably give it a bit higher than a 5. But yeah, I think a 5.3. I think that's where I'm at. Madelen?
Well, look, it's one of those things with early TNG. Not every episode's a banger. But, it wasn't bad. It wasn't bad. It's just repeating what you guys have said. It just didn't feel completely thought out. I think they had to put the B plot in there because the A plot would have been so short, it would have been 15 minutes, and the B plot didn't really go anywhere. Whenever I do a rewatch of any show, I always look out for things that I've already mentioned, which is what adds to the overall story, what adds to my understanding of this universe. And for me, it might be as simple as the chain of command stuff that I talked about before, that I've learned. It's now going to fill in, it fills in my overall understanding of the Star Trek universe, and also the origin of potentially Picard and Data's exploration with private eye themes and tropes. So in that case, this episode does give me something in terms of rewatch, because I'm like, oh yeah, that adds to the story. But I wasn't exactly, on the edge of my seat with this episode. But I think I don't want to be too harsh. Maybe 4 out of 10.
That's harsh.
Maybe I'm mean, but this is my first, entrant into this podcast, so maybe I'm being overly harsh.
Maybe because I think I tend to come down on that. It's not the correct way to measure things out of 10, but I'm of that sort of 7 is okay, if that makes sense. Whereas really 5 should be okay. So maybe our sort of rating is a bit different. But that's okay. Okay, so Star Trek Next Generation Season 1, Episode 7, Lonely Among Us gets 6.3.
Oh.
What did you rate it?
6.0 flat.
Oh, you did.
6.0 flat.
Okay, so yeah, we all didn't enjoy this as much as the majority. No. Perfectly fine. Actually, Tom, we're bucking for trend here. Previous podcast, Madelen, we've actually been rating episodes better than the IMDb score. And feeling very smug about ourselves and think, we're so much more positive than the rest of the world.
Yes.
But apparently not.
No.
Win some, you lose some.
You win some, you lose some. That's okay.
I'd agree with the 6.3. Slightly optimistic, but yeah, 6.
No, I'm pretty happy with my 5.3.
Yeah?
But it's just for me personally. Yeah.
You happy with your 4?
Yeah, and I don't mean to be mean, but it's...
No.
Yeah. It is what it is.
They had limited budget constraints at that time. They were trying their best. I mean, Riker didn't have a beard. There was no chair mounting.
Okay,
question. If Riker had a beard, how much more would you rate this episode?
Well, that automatically gets a 0.5. I heard. Yeah, IMDb has some sort of scaling system.
Okay.
Yeah, from season 2 onwards, actually.
Okay.
Yeah. Weird. Though, when Geordi gets his visor taken off and gets his weird eyeballs, that's actually a -5.
Isn't that just in the movies?
Well, yeah, but I guess the Picard show. Though I did like what the Picard show, again, as time goes on, the prosthetics get better.
Yes.
So his eyeballs weren't as creepy.
Is it actually called the Picard show?
Star Trek Picard.
Oh, yes, yeah.
The show was just mine.
Yeah, no, that's cool.
Yeah.
That sounds like a...
I hope you guys get an episode from that show, because I really like it.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we need to roll for our next episode.
We do. We can even spin for the next episode.
Or spin. We normally spin. In the sense of roll, we normally spin. So, Madelen, I know you won't be here next week to watch this episode, but you can stick around and spin with us. We normally have a little chat about it, do you actually remember the episode? And if so, what our expectations are? So maybe you can join us in that little conversation. Okay, so now we're going to spin for the next Star Trek show to watch. So there are 13 shows by our count. Anyone got anything they would like to see or not see? I know you get a picture with Madelen, but what would you like us to talk about?
I love so many. Let's go with an old favourite / challenge for me, which is Enterprise.
I was going to say the exact same thing, but for different reasons, because I love Enterprise.
I know, and I'm trying to love it. I'm sure a lot of people out there identify probably with me, which is...
No, and they're wrong.
It's a slog, but you want to love it.
No, you don't want to love it, you do love it. It's amazing.
Yeah, okay. Right.
Nah, yeah, I get it. Enterprise has got a few problems, but I just love it.
Yeah, and I want to, so I'm trying.
Tom, anything you want to see?
I'd like to see a good, solid toss.
Oh, toss. Yeah, let's do a toss.
Yeah, actually.
Let's do it. Well, otherwise known as a TOS.
Do you have the movies included?
We're not doing movies. We have
Christmas special. You could do a movie one.
We've said, so we're planning on doing 10 episodes of this podcast, and we said that maybe when we finish, we might do a movie to end with.
Yeah, not Nemesis.
We'll see.
No.
Well, no, we'll be random. We might get Nemesis.
No.
Oh, no. Okay, we're going to spin.
Yes!
Oh, yeah!
We're going back to Deep Space Nine.
No loitering on the promenade. Sorry. That was my attempt at a British accent.
Yeah.
Even though Odo doesn't speak with it.
No, he doesn't. It's more
They're loitering on the promenade.
I don't know where that came from.
Any season you'd like?
Oh, look. I'm not fussy. Any Dominion War. So what's that? What, season
That's
5?
like 5 onwards.
Yeah, I mean, 5 onwards.
I'd say also 5 hours.
Are we allowed to say spoilers?
If you remember the episode in a moment.
No, I mean, like, I would love any episode apart from that episode of the loss of a beloved character.
Oh,
I'm not over
yes,
it.
no, totally.
I'm not over it.
I'm afraid the show ended 20 plus years ago.
Yes.
Spoilers be damned.
I would like to either season 5 onwards or the Calamarain episode.
No. Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Was it
Alamarine.
Was it Alamarain or the Alamarain episode? Yeah, just because the acting was
any
so
Ferengi
good.
episode.
Oh, yeah.
Mookie!
Yeah. Okay, well, we're all very happy to be with Deep Space Nine.
So I believe there's 26 episodes.
We must choose a season first.
Oh, of course we do.
I must do 1 to 7. It'd be really good if there's 26 seasons of DS9.
Yes.
That would be good. So now we're going to spin for the season or series. Did we say season or series? Season, yeah.
The series is DS9. The season is
1
of 7.
Yeah, I could see that, yeah. Oh, fine, anyway, we're spinning now.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
Season 5.
We did ask for it.
Season 5, so the spin thing knows. So
wait, is this too late for Michael Eddington? I think it might be too late.
He's in here.
Is he?
Isn't this when... No, because...
Eddington would be great.
I think Eddington... Season 5 is the... That's when Eddington and Cisco have their showdown.
Oh, man.
Because I think it's season 5 when the Dominion War's just ramping up and they're just trying to like wind down and finish off any unresolved stories.
Stuff, yeah.
So I think we might get Michael Eddington. Cisco as Javert. Okay, Tom, you're obviously a genius at this, and you just happen to know how many episodes are in every season. How many are in season 5?
26 exactly.
You know this.
I know this.
It's a bit of a running joke, Mads. Tom just knows.
How do you know?
He just knows.
Some people are just naturally trained.
26. Well, don't be so smug about it.
And look, season 4 at 25.
So we'll now spin for episode 14.
Good mid-season.
Tom, if you can remember it, I'll buy you a hot chocolate.
No, I would imagine that Cisco is bold.
Oh, yeah.
He is a captain.
Yes.
And he is on DS9.
And we do have the Defiant. Yes.
Defiant?
Yes, Defiant, yeah. Has Nog joined Starfleet yet?
I'm not sure.
Maybe it's this episode.
Possibly.
Let's find out. In Purgatory's Shadow.
I remember this.
Are you serious?
Me too.
Being really good.
Okay, so this is a 2-parter. Which means we're going to watch both.
Fantastic.
So, Worf and Garrick journey to the Gamma Quadrant to investigate a coded Cardassian message. Is this the one where they get captured on the prison colony and they find an Oberyn Tane and Bashir and it transpires that the Bashir that they think they left behind is a changeling.
Oh.
And they have to escape, and then Worf's like having to fight for Jem'Hadar every day, and he gets beaten up. Oh, Martok's there!
Martok!
Yes. Excellent. I'm happy with that.
Yep, me too. Super happy. Thank you for joining us today on Warp Factor Unknown, where we spoke about the Next Generation episode Lonely Among Us. Hope you join us next time when we go back to Deep Space Nine for In Purgatory's Shadows, Part 1 and Part 2. If you'd like to contact us, please email us at warpfactorunknown@outlook.com. That again is warpfactorunknown@outlook.com. The music we've been using for these episodes is called Starfleet Command by Jeff Harvey, and you can find more of his work on pixabay.com.